All right, Rick. And so thanks for agreeing to this interview. Just so we know, you know that we're recording this and we're going to put it out on YouTube, and you're okay with that? Is that okay?
All good.
Very, very good. So, all right, thank you. So I'm Mike Heroux. I'm part of the organizing committee for the Collegeville workshop on scientific software with a focus on developer productivity this year. And I'm here with Rick Arthur, who's at GE. Rick is very well known in the computational science field for his leading edge thoughts and advocacy for the field. And we're very fortunate to have him participate as in this conference and the pre-recorded elements of it. So thank you for agreeing to this, Rick.
Absolutely.
And maybe just briefly introduce yourself. So for those who don't know you, can get a little bit of background.
So I'm a 30-year veteran at General Electric, most of the time at the research lab in upstate New York. So as GE's had many companies and industries that we work with, much fewer at the moment, but we've had a diversity of technologies that we've needed to support computationally, and that includes working with Lockheed Martin when we sold our aerospace business to them, as well as NBC Universal that we had for a while as well. So a wide variety of application areas and computational challenges, and then linking that with the efforts in the Department of Energy and the National Science Foundation to just keep at the cutting edge is a big part of my responsibility.
Very good, thank you. So the four sub-themes of the workshop are good working definitions of developer productivity, challenges that we see, technical approaches to improve, and cultural approaches to improve. So I'd like to touch on all of those as appropriate with you. First, I'd love to hear, if you have a good working definition of developer productivity, something that you use to determine if things are improving or getting better or staying about the same. So, love your thoughts on that.
Yeah, and we've been down the road multiple times trying to fit this into the old CMM and agile velocity kinds of metrics, and those have not really been productive or motivating, I think. So any kind of fine-grained measure, I think there are just inherent challenges in calibration and accuracy, even if we can recognize that certain teams or individuals can be very diverse in their capability. So it's more important, I think, to measure in the context of the goals that you're trying to achieve, and how quickly and completely you're able to reach those goals given the resources that you have to work with.
All right, very good, thank you. And what about now? What are you seeing in terms of challenges for productivity?
So there's certainly something I know is shared broadly, this perception of software engineering as an afterthought as compared with the domain work, which is what you do, and you wouldn't begin it without that, and hardware, in the sense that hardware is a concrete, finite, configurable, negotiable price tag commodity in a way. The software is this fuzzy thing that it kind of feels like you can do it cheaply or waste a bunch of time and effort doing it. And that leads to, I guess, it being done almost on exception, and that investment, that ongoing investment then to do support for documentation and porting and recertification and such ends up being this liability or perceived as a distraction or overhead. And so that is, you know, multiple forms of a challenge and makes it easily scrutinized for squeezing it out as waste as opposed to having a real value add.
Yeah, that's very interesting comment. Yeah, that's a very nice statement. Thank you. So that touches on, I think, both technical and cultural approaches. What are your thoughts to address this particular, I think, with big challenge, right?
Yeah, and just as GE was a big adopter of Six Sigma for manufacturing quality, right now our CEO has been very heavily pushing the lean concept. So this is a fanatical reduction of waste. So it does touch into things that map well into software like defects, excess process and work, overproduction. So thinking about like building everything rather than what is particularly needed, dependency tracking, not fully using talent. And that not fully using talent, I think once you go to digital, it doesn't even have to be your own talent because we have that opportunity to reuse assets. So one of the key things that I've been trying to push is looking at projects like the E4S that you're running out of the Exascale project, or even like the Department of Defense's CREATE project. These are some fantastic, capable assets that have years and millions of dollars and brilliant minds already pushing forward, doing the lessons learned, and how can we reap those benefits into new contexts, especially when there's a common good that is achieved by way of that, you know, kind of co-participation then in, you know, bringing that stuff forward. There's a temptation to want control. So you either stay with these legacy you know, could be vendor supplied or just pre-existing components and packages, or this temptation to now create a new one because you're just enough different that you don't want to go and adapt and then rely upon the direction that somebody else is taking.
Yeah.
So I think in terms of like then I know you wanted to go to like these cultural opportunities, right? I truly believe that collaboration offers an opportunity for a shared obligation. So by way of working together and not only multiply shouldering then the labor and intellectual input, you also are winning together. You can share in the successes along the way. It also raises executive awareness to this. If you try to do things underground, it may lose its appreciation at the level of certain decision makers. And unfortunately, there's over and over, there's this great Eleanor Roosevelt quote, which is never accept an answer of no from somebody without the authority to say yes. And so this is one of the real tests that you have to make sure that your sponsor is actually enabled and you're not just being pushed down by people who don't even have the authority to support you simply because it's too much trouble to push up the chain. So there's, and then in terms of that, who has that culture and not, I've found that if you're talking about a more traditional hardware product kind of organization, it is going to be difficult to find those kinds of decision makers and champions. For the work that we did with Lockheed Martin, they sold big software systems that had even the top leadership truly appreciated the importance of investing in software and processes. So how they treated these kinds of investments was very markedly different than, say, the very traditional product, hard physical organizations.
Yeah, thank you. That's some very nice thoughts. Thank you very much. So how would you like things, or how might, if we were able to make really good progress in productivity, how will things be different in a few years' time?
So I've personally put a lot of time in just cataloging and trying to package and translate all of the resources that are available within the ecosystem. And before your effort on the XSDK, there really wasn't that consolidated view, except for one I had happened to assemble on the side.
Yeah.
And so I think there's an awareness component. And then I like how you have approaches like with SPAC in kind of unifying it so that you don't have a dozen different ways of trying to adopt and creating these other barriers, once again, going to lean. So it being maybe less about efficiency than not creating new obstacles. But I think ultimately what I'm eager to see is greater automation and tools that will improve our efficiency, our consistency, our correctness, our completeness. This is exactly the kind of things that machines are just better than people at doing. And the state of technology has evolved to a point where this should be within reach. We just need them to be socialized and hardened for use.
Yeah, very good. Very compelling story. Any last minute comments before we wrap up?
Just that from the early engagements that we've had on this topic, the software sustainability and productivity paper, and some of the workshops that Argonne ran, I really feel that this has been important to people at a grassroots level, and that has been sustained by people who genuinely care about the problem. It would be great if we could get, either have some of those people be promoted into positions of authority, or tell the story in a way that this is less about having to put in our own personal energy than something that people are coming to this community asking for and actively pulling. Very good, very good. Very nice statements. Thank you very much. All right, thank you very much for your time, Rick. Pleasure chatting with you, and we'll talk to you again, I'm sure, in the near future. Appreciate it and look forward to it. Yeah, thank you.